I typically start these off as I will today, and I remind everyone that the reason, kind of one of the singular reasons that Lead Helm exists, is to help dealers sell more vehicles and do it in a way that delivers an exceptional customer experience. And that's no different. Our mission has not changed on that front. But I think today, just to flesh that out a bit more, I think as business people, entrepreneurs, leaders, owners, whatever capacity you may be in whichever organization you're here representing, we're always looking for a bit of a competitive advantage, right? We're looking for additional opportunities, maybe an increase in operational efficiencies. We maybe look. We're always looking to either make a little more money and or save a bit of money. So great, those are competitive advantages. And I think the other thing right now that we're facing in business in general is how do we increase the capacity of the human capital that we have on our teams right now? Right. We know that hiring, recruiting, retention, turnover are issues inside of our various businesses. So how do we increase the capacity for those on our team? So that's in general, that's business in general. And as we look specifically at the digital space, then we're talking about website traffic, and we're talking about the leads that come from that traffic. We're talking about response times and conversions and appointments set and kept and deliveries and KPIs and so forth. But we've got some challenges there with staffing, as I mentioned. We've got different technologies that are available to us. And sometimes it's hard to wade through which of those is most effective and which are not. Maybe we have some accountability issues inside of the digital sales process and some visibility issues. Do we really see what's happening inside that with all of our leads and all of our people and all of our activities? And if we don't have all those things, it leads us to a position maybe of lack of confidence, and we don't have the peace of mind that we'd really all like as business folks. And we have right now a bit of a tougher market. I think in across the board in all the segments that we talk about, whether it's RV, automotive, power sports, Harley Davidson, marine, any of those things, and we work with folks in all those segments. Um, we talked about the staffing issues. You may have inventory mix challenges. We've obviously got some interest rate situations and some inflation situations, and I think just maybe a general concern, a bit more conservative approach from our typical customers on. They're a little more practical with how they're spending their money right now. So these ideas of competitive advantage, additional opportunities, I think are even more relevant today. So we are going to address that digital specific today, and we're going to do it by way of an assessment tool. I'm gonna put that up and show you a picture of that right now. And we call this, as you'll see on there, this is a maturity scorecard. And you could apply this to any facet of your operation. We're going to look at it specifically from digital today. It is laid out just for the digital sales process today. But again, you could apply this in a variety of ways. And the way we've used it historically, when we were full service with digital lead performance, we would use this and we would do some case study work on potential clients. And today at Lead Helm, we use it to our client success team, and we want to work with our client dealers to identify where are they in each of these four P's on the left side: product, process, people, and performance. Those are the four P's. And across the top, and we kind of have fun with the names, right? We've got old school, and we're kind of just doing things the way we've always done it, and we're getting a little bit of business from it. We've got modernized, where we're starting to take advantage of some technology and some tools that are available. We're putting a little more focus and intensity around this process. That's the middle one. And then we've got what we call best in industry or best in class, that are fully leveraging everything that's out there. And so what Taylor's going to do here, or Chrissy, I'm not sure who's going to do that, but they're going to drop this into the chat. So this is going to be something that you can work with today and going forward. And what we're really, the goal today, obviously, is to run through this and identify the best practices to move from one level to the next. But overall, what we want to do is identify where you are today. And I would think you probably won't be at the same level for each of the P's. Right? You may be modernized in product, and you may be old school in process or whatever the case is, it doesn't matter. I want you to follow along, play along with this, because once we you identify where you are, then we can start to figure out the plans, the steps, the actions, the tactics to level up. The goal will be, how do I level up in each of the 4 Ps until I get everything in the far right column? And we'll talk about some of the results that happen statistically, monetarily, potentially once we move there. And this is all about an evolution. This is about a transformation of the digital sales process. It is different than the physical process. We have to embrace that. And we're going to give a lot more detail on that shortly. But this is, we're evolving our businesses to match the landscape and the consumer demands. And I'm going to touch a bit more shortly on customer expectations here. But once we have identified where you are, and now we see where we can go, this is what we call the roadmap to better. How do I go from where I am to better, right? Where I have better visibility, I have less turnover, I have increased capacity, I have increased peace of mind and confidence in what's happening. That is the road to better. So follow along with this today. Honestly rank yourself, rate yourself in these areas. You can do it on the sheet, you can just make notes, whatever the case is, because once we get through this, if you follow along, now you have a starting point. Then you can start to think through the next steps, and this becomes an implementation tool. Okay, so this is the framework we're going to use. The next slides that you're going to see are just snippets of this same scorecard. So we're going to see product first, and you'll see just the top quarter of this page. And then we're going to work process, people, and performance. So that'll be the breakdown. And so I want you to follow along. I want you to do this, and let's build the road to better together. So here we go. We talk about product first. All right, product. This is really about technology, tools, digital advertising, communications, the tools we use to communicate, the recording of communications, and so forth. And you can see in the different old school, modernized, and best of what we mean, right? Old school, basic, pen and paper, minimal investment. We move to the middle column, right? The middle box there. And we're starting to use some, what I would call kind of off the shelf things and some basic communication tools. And then we go all the way to the advanced side, where we're really starting to put into practice and make use of some of the best things that are available out there. And I think one thing to acknowledge here, and again, this comes from a lot of years inside dealerships. The swirl is a reality in these businesses. And you guys that remember Ed Lemko, it was always about the swirl, and it's real. We have issues with time availability. We have staffing resources. We have distractions that happen. We're in retail, right? So that means we're at the mercy of the customer. When they come in, when they need us, we have to be prepared and respond to their needs. So we don't always get to be in charge of the agenda. So that swirl is a real deal. So if that's the case, and we can agree with that, then we really need to talk about how do we leverage what's available, right? And we can see in those three areas. And when I talk about that, let's go through some of the tools and resources that I'm thinking about. Okay, digital advertising. This is not an advertising seminar at all, right? But we have to be doing something inside these dealerships to drive traffic to the website, okay? So you got to start thinking about who does that? How do I evaluate that? Do I understand my analytics behind that? Do I do that internally? Do I have an outside professional agency that helps me with that stuff, okay? That would be a product that would be available to you. So we've got that. Our website analytics, okay? Who's coming to the site? What pages do they go on? What pictures or links do they click on most frequently? Do we understand that? Again, are we spending our money in the right place to drive activity in areas that consumers are interested in already? Lead capture tools, right? Website traffic does not equal leads. Traffic's great, but until they raise their hand and give us some indication and some means to communicate with them, some information, we can't do anything. We just have traffic. Traffic's fine. Leads are better. So we need that stuff. Communications tracking, right? Lead comes in, we have a response, go back and forth. There's dialogue, there's engagement with this customer. How am I communicating with them? Text, email, phone? Great. How do I record those things? How do I keep track of those things so we can go back on those? We'll talk about the liabilities of some of these things. If they don't exist, we may have some significant issues here. Data tracking, right? Again, what's happening inside of this process. And again, I go back to capacity. if we equip our people with the best in technology and the best tools, we increase their capacity. We saw it. We saw it when we used Lead Helm, when digital lead performance was a full service follow-up service, you pay for lead follow-up from digital lead performance. We found without Lead Helm as a tool, as a platform, agents would handle between 125 to 150 leads a day. Okay, that's a lot, but we're working for multiple dealers at that point in time. We put this tool in and we double capacity, double 250, 275, 300 leads per person per day. Massive change in that piece. So I continue to talk about capacity because it's important. And I think I look at this product on two different levels. Okay, level one is the user level. Okay, so somebody in your business that is responsible for handling digital leads, online inquiries, they're responsible for handling those. That's a lot. Okay, there's a lot that goes on. So they've got initial response that's important. After that response, we've got commitments that we make, promises that we make for continued follow-up. When are we going to talk to them? What do they need? Do they need trade information? Do they need price information? Do they need a video sent? What do they need? Do they need access to a credit application? All those things, those are commitments. And I have that. I have lead volume. Okay, so this is not just about a lead that comes in today and how does the user in your dealership handle that lead, but this is about the life cycle of a lead. Okay, and if you look at the number of touches required to get a customer to fully engage, and you add that to the number of touches required after they engage to get to a set appointment, we're talking about 18 to 20 touches on average for every single lead that's there. Nobody can manage that without a system. It's just too much information. We have too much. So we need something for the user to keep them on track, help them understand the priority of leads, new leads in, a response from a lead we're already working, what needs to happen, what are my promises. I need to be able to see and have visibility to everything that's happening throughout the entire lead cycle. Okay, it's hard to do on pen and paper. I know that. Second level, okay, that's user level. Second level is we have managers and we have owners, dealers, and this is all about visibility into what's happening inside the digital sales process. Do you see with great certainty and objectivity the data of what's happening with all of the leads, right? This is traffic you pay to drive to your site. This is, you have people that you're paying to engage with these customers. I want to know what's happening. I need to see it. I need to be able to analyze the data. I need to be able to coach and make good decisions from an investment standpoint and a staffing standpoint. I want accountability that comes from visibility of this information. And at the end of that, if I have that, we go back to that confidence and that peace of mind that, you know what, my digital business, my digital customers are being handled well, and I'm getting a good return on what I've invested in that space. So this is not a Lead Helm demo. These are never, this is education first, but I will tell you on the product side, I'm going to show you a few slides throughout today. On the product side, I'm going to show you a couple because Lead Helm is the best there is on the product side right now for what we're talking about. Okay. If you don't use it, okay, but you still need to do and have access to some of the stuff that I'm going to show you. So right here, this is one thing. I would call this an absolute from a product standpoint. You have to have a digital traffic law. We've shared this before. This is something that we build for you as a client, but we need to start out with overall sales targets. Right? I'm assuming everybody out there has a budget and we have projections. How many total vehicles are we going to sell by month? Okay. The next piece is what percentage of that volume should come out of digital? Okay, great. To do that, once I have that target, then I need to start to understand how many website visitors are required, how many leads are required, how many set appointments, how many kept appointments to end up with the deliveries that I need so that digital pulls their fair share, their determined share of our total dealership goal that we have. So we have to understand this. And then we record our activity just like a regular physical traffic log. You record this activity every single day. And in the bottom left of this digital traffic log, our digital traffic log, you enter your input, enter your information every day, and you get a trending report. Based on current activity, this is where you're projected to finish for the month. Now I can start to have some insights. Do I need more traffic? Do I need more leads from that traffic? Is it a set issue? Is it a kept issue? If I have that information, then I can dive in. I know what lever to pull to help move the needle in that thing. But if I don't have this, pie in the sky. I don't know. Too much at risk to not know when you're making these decisions. So, as one of the absolutes, I would say we need digital traffic log. Okay. Then these are 3 screenshots from inside of Lead Helm as a platform. Okay. First screen right there, and you'll see this again on another slide with a little more, I'll spend more time on it, but we have KPIs. Again, you can see at the top, you probably might not be able to see all that, but that top line running left to right is new leads. How many appointments did we set? How many were kept? And how many were sold? And the percentages of those things. What kind of activities do we have? How many leads are being touched? Okay, I'm going to come back to that in our process slide, because for those of you that are owners, dealer operators, or general managers, I really want to hone in on that one. What are my outbound activities? How many were calls? How many were texts? How many were emails? What are my real response times? Okay, users in your store, if you have Lead Helm, they work within this platform. They work inside of the software. So I know their activities because they're recorded inside this in real time. I know their response time because they can't just say, hey, I responded. They actually have to do an activity, outbound activity, to actually stop the clock on this one. Okay, that's in there. And then the other piece in KPIs is we see performance by lead source, right? You can see on their website, Facebook, credit apps, trade cycle. I'd like to know how my lead sources are performing. You spend money for every one of those lead sources. Let's funnel our money into the lead sources that produce the best results. So that's just one piece. The one on the left, right? Now, this is recorded communications. This happens to be phone calls. You can see this as a dealer or as a user. I can look in there, I can see phone, I can see text conversations back and forth between my user in the store and the customer. We can glean all kinds of things from this. When we say this, the customer responds that way. Okay, when a customer asks this question, if we respond this way, we get better activity, so forth. Coaching, insights, and development of the user comes from this. And it lives in the system. So as people turn over, which we know they do, they don't take all of this conversation history with them, right? It's not in their cell phone, it's in this system. You own the customers, you own the conversations history. You can pick up and continue corresponding, engaging with the customer, even in light of some of those turnover pieces. So hugely valuable on that one. The one on the far right is the calendar. And I think the highlight here is this is by day. These are activities, promised activities that our users have made to customers, to leads they're working with, and they're prioritized warm, medium, and cold, warm, and hot. Okay. Let's make sure we're hitting all the hot stuff first, and then we work down to the medium and then the cold on the bottom. Again, we have so much information as a user to manage, so many commitments we've made. How do they keep it straight? They have to have a tool like this to keep it straight. So again, you don't have to use this one, but you need to use something that gives you this kind of information to effectively manage, effectively maximize, I will say, your digital opportunity that's there. If not, on the liability side, so if I just bounce back up here, right, our liabilities in this piece, lost business is a big one. I've got some notes here. We don't have the right data, so lost data, lack of visibility, and lack of insights. Bad insights, bad data leads to bad decisions. Those are dangerous. I don't want that. We end up with turnover because we're not helping our people with tools and technology to be efficient and be great and be successful. So we have turnover, inefficiencies, not maximizing capacity. And I talked already about the number of leads that can be handled, more leads with the right technology. So that's just on the product side. Okay, so if you're thinking about those 3, give yourself a little checkbox in old school, modernized, or best in industry, or if you're in between, just make a little mark in between. Again, We just want to know where you are. I want you to know where you are so we can help you understand where to go next. All right, that is product. All right, we've seen those slides. Let's talk about process, okay? P2, P1, product, P2, process. So we're on process. This is really, how are you currently handling your digital sales process? Because leads are coming into your business. Leads are coming into your business. Somebody is handling them today. You may not have a process, but somebody's handling these leads today, okay? So the goal here, what we're really after, what I'd be after running stores again, would be, I need a process that is formalized, which means it's written down, it's trainable, it's repeatable, and it has predictable outcomes. Formal process, trainable, repeatable, and predictable or consistent outcomes. Tough to manage your business any other way, okay? What we see, and again, we work with a lot of dealers in various stages of development in this scorecard. We see all kinds of things. We see the jump ball method, which is, hey, I got salespeople, and whoever gets the lead first, they get the lead, okay? Maybe we follow up with that person, maybe not. But if it's salespeople doing this, unless you have really great accountability and follow up with the salespeople, I can almost guarantee you they're not staying with that customer for 18 to 20 touches to get a set appointment. That's just not how salespeople operate right now. Unless you're doing it, again, unless you have immense scrutiny and attention to detail, you're not getting that level of performance there. And we know that's what's required. That's the jump ball. Round robin, right? Sales manager sees the lead, they hand it off to one of the salespeople. Salesperson goes through with the follow-up. Can be great, maybe not so great, depends on the training, the accountability, so forth, that happens from the management. We see a lot of where we've got what I would call multitasking, okay, where you've got people that do other functions in the store and they also handle these leads. And let's be honest, you cannot multitask, okay? You can switch tasks, but you can't multitask, not inside a dealership. And it's right, but anytime they step away from paying attention to inbound leads or responses from customers who are already working as a lead, then our response time starts to get longer and longer and longer. And those are tough things. We go all the way through this to the far end where we've got dedicated personnel that are doing these things. Maybe we've got a BDC with some oversight and so forth, but somewhere in there, regardless of where you are today, we've got to be mindful of customer expectations right here, okay? COVID accelerated dramatically the importance, the necessity, and the viability of digital selling. Customers got trained in the 3 years of the pandemic to understand that, hey, I can do a lot of business online. And they start online in all the segments that we're talking about here. 90% of them are starting on your website before they ever come into your store. 90% are starting there. We should be really good at this. Okay. They want fast responses. They want personal responses, right? A real body. Hi, I'm here. I'm not a bot. I'm somebody. How would you like to engage with me? Thanks for reaching out. They expect us to answer their questions. We have to be knowledgeable. They expect continued follow-up, and they want a relationship still. We have to have a relationship, and we have to have emotion in this process, because most of what we sell are want-based products, not need-based products. We can't sell rationally very well want-based products. We have to sell emotionally, and the way to do that is have relationships with the customers that are there. So those are the customers' expectations. When I talked about transformation and evolution, we are required, if we want to stay industry leaders as dealers, we are required to make this evolution to meet the customer where they want to do business with us, okay? We have to do these things. So a couple necessities, absolutes that I would say right here. You need to define, adopt, and commit to a digital sales process. It's not the same as the 9-step sales process you use on the floor. It's not. Okay. We've got to talk about lead generation and capture. We've got to talk about lead nurturing. And then we talk about lead follow-up. And there are subsets within those steps, but they're not the same as they are in the physical store. So we have to define the process, formalize it by writing it down at that point, adopt it, train to. We'll talk about the people side of this in just a minute. We talked about a digital traffic log. Okay. Have to have a digital traffic log. I just showed you that one, right? So now I've got a sales process. It's got different KPIs. Those KPIs have to be reflected in the digital traffic log. Let's make this uniform, okay? Just like the steps of the sale in your CRM match your 9-step process on the floor, we have to apply the same logic to what's happening in digital at that point. And then, process-wise, a created deal meeting. Save a deal, dig meeting, hot desk meeting, whatever you want to call it. We need to bring the best and brightest minds inside our organization's sales area. I'm talking about general manager, general sales manager, finance people, BDC people, internet sales, whatever. Everybody that's responsible from a management standpoint of what happens inside the sales arena, they need to meet on this information daily. And what our focus is there, we want to see everything that happened from appointments set, kept, trade-ins, leads. I need to address all of that stuff, and somebody on my management team needs to take responsibility to either engage with that customer themselves or work with the salesperson or the internet person to engage, and we have to move every customer one step further. That's the goal every single day. This is where accountability comes from. And this has got to be, to me, all your phone activity, okay? Phone log that maybe you moved into CRM, that has to be reviewed. Physical floor traffic, that has to be reviewed, okay? Digital traffic log, that has to be reviewed. And I'm going to show you another screenshot here, what we like, and I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to blow this one up a little bit because there's some really good stuff on here. You're not going to be able to see absolute clarity on this thing, but I want you to think about this stuff. So I've got now, as I'm preparing for my create a deal, or I'm looking at this as a sales manager or an owner over the course of the day, this data is updated in real time because your users are working in the system. They do an activity or a lead comes in, we see it immediately. So you're looking real time activity right here. This is the visibility that I talked about earlier. Right? I want to know what happens with the appointments. This is what I have scheduled. Okay. This is what happened with yesterday's appointments. I've got my KPIs in here. How many new leads did I get? How many were set? How many were kept? What happened with there? Okay. Then on the bottom, okay, think about this one on the bottom. Leads touched. Okay. This is a pretty good one right here. 54 leads touched on Thursday, the 7th of September. Okay. And I had 117 outbound activities. That's pretty good information. But I can share with you, I have screenshots just like this where we'll have an activity day, leads touched, that'll be 6 or 7. It doesn't make any sense, right? You might get 2 new leads today. That's fine. But if you only have 2 leads touched and it's the 2 that came in today, we're missing the complete concept of the life cycle of a lead. We have obligations to continue to follow up with leads that are in the process. So this should be a high number. If I'm a dealer, right? The old adage around the traffic log, how do you manage what's happening on the floor? Well, you check your traffic log, you check in on the floor at 10 a.m., noon, 2, and 4. Pulse check, updates, management of walking around. Same thing needs to happen on your digital, right? Look, if you're here all day and you work 54 leads and you had 117 outbound activities, I'm relatively okay with that. But if you're here for 8 hours and you touch 6 leads, I'm not okay with that at all. I'm not okay with that at all. And I want you to think about it. What if you don't know this information? What if you don't know? Right? That's scarier to me than having bad performance, is having lack of visibility to any kind of performance. I have to be able to see this. Again, use our tool or not, but this is something that is absolute necessity from a process standpoint to be good in this space. Again, we spend money on technology, we spend money on advertising, we spend money on people. Let's give them everything we can to be great. Let's maximize the return on the investment that we're making. All right. Liabilities. Wow. Similar. Lost business. Turnover, right? I have turnover because I don't really understand the process, right? And I don't have clarity. I don't have the tools. I don't have the training. I don't have the coaching. I don't think I'm getting everything I need to be successful. I may leave. You may end up with poor net promoter scores or CXI scores out of this because our process isn't what the customer wants. Okay, those are not good in the eyes of the OEM. They certainly don't feel good for the customers. Increase in costs that come from turnover, lost revenue, so forth, and just a general frustration because we're not quite sure what's happening. Right? That's just an uncomfortable feeling to not know what's going on there. So, from a process standpoint, define your digital sales process. Train it. Okay, so it's repeatable and it's got predictable outcomes. Work with that digital traffic log and institute and implement every single day created deal meetings that drive performance and accountability. Strong recommendation. We may do this. We may do one separate session on this is how you run a save a deal meeting because there's all kinds of components to it beyond what we're just talking about. But for today, we only have time to touch on it a little bit today. We'll come back to that in another one. Okay, that's the second P. P3, people. Okay, people. Let me grab a quick drink of water here. I get wound up sometimes. People. Who? This is about who in the dealership and what roles are involved in the digital sales process. And from all the way from lead generation, okay, initial response, lead nurture, setting appointments, confirming those appointments, transferring trust and information from the digital space to the physical space at the time that we set the appointment. Okay. Another one we'll do is another webinar will be on retail excellence. How do we prepare for the appointment to show up? Well, I've got to get all the information that's been generated in the engagement between my digital person and the customer. I got to get all that information transferred to whoever's going to take that appointment when they come in, because a lot of times it's not the same person. And even tougher, I have to transfer the trust that's been developed between my internet person and the customer. I have to transfer that trust now over to whoever's going to take the appointment. There's ways to do those things, but that's not for today's topic. Okay. I need to make a big point here. One of the biggest objections that we get when we talk to dealers about Lead Helm as a product, okay, as a tool, dealers say, I don't have anybody dedicated to that role right now. To which we say, yes, you do. You may not have somebody that's their sole function, but somebody handles these leads today. Somebody handles this. So why not equip whoever it is or whoever they are with the best things that we can possibly have? Okay, so don't let that get in the way of the road to better at all. We have to do that. So think about this for a second. Inside of process, you define the digital sales process, okay? We have to train anybody that's involved in handling digital online inquiries. They have to be trained in the digital sales process. They have to know the steps. They have to know the why behind every one of those steps. So that's the first piece. Train them on the process. Second piece, the accountability side, measure their performance with the digital traffic log and with the KPIs that you're tracking. Again, website traffic, number of leads, leads contacted, appointment set, kept, delivered, those things. Once you have that data, again, now I can start to effectively coach, which would be the third piece. I got to train them on the process. I got to measure their KPIs, and then I've got to take that information and coach them to be better. If you had 5 people in your store that were handling leads right now, every one of them needs different coaching. We can train all 5 at the same time on the process. You train the group, you coach the individual. The only way I can coach them effectively is if I have the data for them individually. And then support them, celebrate them, equip them with the right stuff out of P1, the product side. But this is hard. Selling vehicles is hard. Selling vehicles digitally is hard. Celebrate their wins, make them champions, make them feel great. Because my belief is this, and I work that way in the stores. I still believe it today. Your obligation when you hire somebody is to train them to within an inch of their life and give them every tool and create the environment for them to be great. If they can't, we coach them as long as we can. But if they just can't get there, you feel no guilt and you've earned the right to terminate them objectively. And that's okay. That's not what we want. But if you don't give them everything the right way, then, and they're not excelling, they're not performing at the level you want, you don't know if it's their fault or your fault. I don't ever want to be in that position. So define the process, train them on it, measure them, coach them, support them, and then coach them up or coach them out. Either one of those are okay outcomes. I've mentioned this before. Even if we do this great, we're going to have some turnover. Just a byproduct of the business. That's okay. But if I have the right tracking in place, I have all of the engagement and all of the communications recorded in something that I own as a dealer, and I have visibility, the customer doesn't care that there's a turnover, right? If Jimmy's gone, as long as somebody else follows up and explains what happens and understands where we are in the relationship and in the life cycle and continues that on, the customer's okay. But if we don't have that information and Jimmy leaves, the customer is going to, if they even give us another shot because they just fell off the radar when Jimmy left, nobody did anything, they're going to call and say, who's this? Oh yeah, Jimmy's gone. What did you need? No, no. Customers don't want that and you don't want that. I don't believe you want that. If you wanted that, you wouldn't be on the call right now. So I know you don't want that. Liabilities of this, boy, turnover, missed deals, margin, referrals, costs, um, cost per lead, cost per conversion, all these things go up, right? If again, let's train them. You owe it to them. You owe it to the business. You owe it to the customers. Train them right. Create the system. Give them the right tools. Equip them right. Train them up, and let them be great. That's a win for everybody. Something I have another slide here. This isn't a lead Helm specific slide, but one thing we don't talk about much is there's an education arm, if you will, to lead Helm as a company. It's called Helm Academy, and it is available only to clients. And it really works on two levels. Okay. The first order of business, as it says here, is onboarding and software use training, platform functionality. Because if you get the system and we don't train you how to use it and you don't use it well, you're going to get frustrated and it's not going to work and nobody wins in that situation. So our first job is to make sure that you, as the dealer, the sales manager, and the user understand how the system functions. Excellent. Once we have that completely dialed in, the next move is skill development for the user. Okay. How do I engage better with a customer? How do I handle objections in the digital space? How do I build value in an appointment? How do I manage my workflow and the various cadences that are required depending on how the customer is responding or not? Those things we need to train them on. Okay, we can help you with all that stuff. All right. Helm Academy. Okay, people, train them, love them, hold them accountable, make them great. We can help you when you're ready. All right, final P. This is a big one. Okay. This is about the metrics. Okay. As it says, metrics. All three of the other P's lead here. They all lead here. So if you're not hitting the performance that you expect or you desire, you're not hitting the metrics, the results you want, there's something wrong with one of the other P's. We've got an issue with our product, we've got an issue with our process, or we have an issue with our people, or some combination thereof. Okay, we can't just make performance. We make performance through the other P's. So this is really about how's your digital sales process performing. And I'll give you a couple different scenarios, and you can almost align them to, we say no growth, stagnant growth, accelerated growth. But if you want to go back and you want to say old school on the left, modernize in the middle, and best in industry on the right, here's some general performance metrics that we see. Okay, we're going to use 150 leads per month for all three. Okay. So in old school, right, where we're not doing a lot around this, we're kind of taking the business that comes. We see about a 2% close rate on all leads. Okay. So I got 150 leads. I'm going to sell about 3 vehicles in a month. Okay. All right. 3 vehicles. Fine. When we start to move and we start to do better with the other 3 Ps and we start to get modernized, we see this jump now to about a 9% close rate. Okay. So now I've got about 13 deals out of that same 150 leads. Big improvement. Big improvement. Okay. That's over 4 times better. When we see people really move and we get best in industry and they're doing what we're talking about in that right-hand box, we are tracking this stuff. We have high accountability. We're leveraging all of the training available. We're leveraging the technology and the tools that are available. We're inside 20 clubs. We're subjecting ourselves to peer review. We're doing those things. We see this move now to 13, 14% conversion on those leads. Okay. So now off of that same 150, now I've got 20 deals. Okay. So just think about that for a minute. If you were at 3 and you moved to 20 and you picked up 17 deals, okay, 17 deals a month, I got 204 more deals a year. And you can just do some rough calculation in your head. What's your average gross profit front and back end on a vehicle that you sell? Multiply that by 207 and ask yourself, is that gross profit, would that gross profit be good for my business? And I know the answer is yes. And I think the thing to really believe here and understand, that opportunity exists with leads that are already sitting there. The 150 leads in each of those 3 scenarios, those are the same leads. Nobody gets more, nobody gets different. They just handle them differently. If you invest in the 3 Ps, you will see ROI that far exceeds the cost that you put in to bring the right tools and the right training and the right technology and so forth to the team. It will happen. You just, the math, you can run right there. Even if you went from 3 to 13, you pick up 10, I got 120 deals a month times your gross profit. Okay. Nothing to sneeze at. Nothing to sneeze at all. Wait, all right. Let's just look for a second at, I've got another. This is the KPI piece that we looked at before. Again, here, KPIs, what's happening, activities, response times, lead source. This is where the rubber meets the road with these 150 leads. This is how you move down the road to better on these things. But I'm going to jump back there for just one more second. You have to have the 3 Ps and you have to have retail excellence to achieve these. Okay. If you have those, then the only thing that's required is intensity and accountability. And I can't make light of that because retail excellence comes from the absolute attention to detail every single day, execution of detailed process and procedure every single day. Retail is a grind. It is a grind. But the difference between good and great is the intensity and the accountability to those small details every single day. So I don't want to talk about liabilities on lack of performance here. I want to talk about benefits of great performance here because that's more fun. So additional profit, great. Rewards from your OEMs. We may not like what some of the OEMs are doing with their reward programs, but they can be quite lucrative to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars if you perform to their benchmarks. That's a big deal, right? There's some ego on the line, okay? I'm not saying the power sports dealers or car dealers or boat dealers have any ego, but if you had any, I'd rather be a top performer than a medium or a bottom performer just from a personal standpoint, okay? Reputation, culture, recruiting. People want to go work for top performers. That's where they want to go. Great performers. You may earn more inventory from the OEMs. You may get approval to have more stores. Those are all great things. The antithesis of those are the liabilities. And I don't want to talk about those because we're on the road to better. So we're not worried about that. We're going to worry about improved performance at this point. Okay. Covered a lot there. I'm going to go. This is the same slide we saw in the beginning. And I'm just going to see, does anybody have any questions on any of the Ps, any of the levels, or any of the process, procedure, best practice that we shared. You can either go on your mic and I can hear you, or you can type it in the chat. I'll give people a minute to see if we got any. Okay. All right. I'll let you off the hook on that one. But we will send you this, right? Once the recording is done, and we tune it up a little bit, we always send out the recording to everybody that attended these things. So you'll see it again. If you have questions, we will obviously be available at that. So no questions. Rhetorical question, or if you care to share, you can do so. How did you score? Right? Where'd you go? Because again, better question, do you see opportunity inside your organization based on what we talked about today? Answer that internally and honestly for yourself. Okay. If you do, if you saw opportunity at that point, what I really ask you to do is now you've got the map of where you are today. This is a snapshot in time. You've done an assessment of where your digital sales process, digital program inside your dealership is. You understand that now. Now it's about, what are my actions? What do I have to do, and who has to do it? This is the action plan for the road to better. It's the map that goes there. And then you just have to ask yourself, do you want it, and is it worth it? For all the benefits and the liabilities that we talked about, I'd like you to be saying, yes, I want to do that. Okay. I think you are, you wouldn't be in a session like this. So assuming that's the case, what do you do next? And there's a few options, and it's super exciting today because I got an extra option. Normally I only have two things to show you on the next slide. Now I have three. All right, so let me show you this. What can you do next? Far left, case study, okay? This is really a digital sales process analysis. We are offering it to those in attendance at no charge. Normally, this is a $4.99 cost to a dealer to do this. We're offering it to you today. What does it entail? Essentially, is a review of the 4 Ps. Our team, we've done, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of these things. We're going to look at your product. We're going to look at your process. We're going to look at your people, and we're going to look at your performance. And when we do that, we're going to come back to you with recommendations of what do we do. Here's some plans. Here's some help with your roadmap to better. Okay. It's not a heavy lift on your part at all, right? There's a non-disclosure, right? An NDA that both parties will sign, because we're going to need access to your CRM and to your website, so we can get some of the analytics and some of the data that we need to build the case study that's in here to complete the analysis. There's also going to be a details form that you'd fill out that gives us some specific details that just help in that piece. Again, not heavy lift, not very time consuming at that point. Once we have that, we're about a week to complete the assessment at that point, and then we'd ask for a meeting, about an hour, with whomever on the team, certainly the dealer principal, if one sales manager, whatever the case, on there, that's great. And at that point, we would share the analysis and we would share the forward moving recommendations on that point. So to me, again, am I biased that you should do that? Sure I am, but why wouldn't you, right? Even if you scored yourself, it'd be even really a lot of fun. If you scored yourself, turn loose the team, let us do an assessment. Let's see how your scoring and our scoring compared, and then match those up, and there's your roadmap to better. Okay, so scan that QR code right there on the left for a free case study, and we will get in touch with you, and it'll tell you what to do next upon that scan. And I'll show you who's involved in this in a minute. I'll show you some names and faces, so you've got that as well. Okay, that's the far left one. I would do that. It's the first time we've ever done this free offer on that, so take advantage of that. The one in the middle, okay? If you want to learn more about Lead Helm as a product, as a software package, and Helm Academy as an educational tool, scan the one in the middle, okay? No obligation on this thing. Somebody from our team, again, I'll show you pictures in a minute. Somebody on the team will get with you. We will schedule time, and we'll want to make sure we understand What questions do you have? What's the state of what you're doing today? Where do we think we can help? So we make sure we show you the bits and pieces of the platform and the training that fit your specific needs. Okay. We don't, our demos, our learn mores are never the same thing, right? It's like when you present a motorcycle, you should never present it the same way, right? Because different people have different things that are important to them. We need to know that so we can customize the presentation to you. We will do that. Scan the middle one. Okay. No obligation on either of those other than a little bit of time. Okay. And they're both free. If you love it all so much and the screenshots and the dynamic presentation that I've delivered for you today, tongue in cheek a little bit there, scan the one on the right, sign up, right? Sign up. We'll start to build out Lead Helm for you. We'll get your digital traffic log built for you. We'll get onboarding going, we'll get training going, and we will map out your road to better with you, and we will be shoulder to shoulder in lockstep the whole way, guiding you to better. You will see those results that we talked about. All right, so those are the three. You can scan those right now. Hopefully there's a lot of scans going on. All right, next, this is Hoot, right? You've seen my mug for about an hour today. I will be following up with everybody on here just because that's something that we do. I want to make sure that what we're doing resonates and we're still delivering value because you take time and it's valuable. I want to make sure that we match that value, if not exceed what your expectations are on that stuff. So I'll be following up with you. I've also got Aaron Barney, co-founder. I've got Travis Winkleman on here. That is really our sales leader in the organization. All three of us would be involved in either case studies or further discovery, and certainly we'd be involved if you opted to sign up today. So again, you'll get this presentation, but if you want to just take a screenshot, screen grab, or take a picture of this, so you've got our faces, beautiful faces, and I got to get in the facial hair game. I feel like I'm missing something right there. Look at these guys. Just kidding. Just take a picture of this, right? So you know how to get a hold of us. We'll reach out to you, but if you need us in the meantime, please do that. So I will leave it at this. Again, thank you for your time. I know it's very valuable, and I hope we made good use of your time today. Big opportunities out there. We talked about competitive advantage. I believe there's competitive advantage inside of what we taught today. There's competitive advantage inside things that you can do developmentally based on that roadmap you just designed. And there's certainly competitive advantage with some of the tools and the training that Lead Helm offers. So with that, again, thank you. We are here. You will hear from us. And I hope everyone has